stifling smoke. In the room I trapped myself in so long ago, where the blinds remain forever closed. Will it change? I hope so, 'cause I have spent the past 4 years trying to find some peace of mind. And I think I might have found it this time.
You might have to move that on this side, the interference. I was just like, what's that noise? Hey, everybody, here we are, live, episode 92. We're creeping up to 100. We went back and looked. January 25th of 2019 or 18?
Yeah. You said
Episode,
it was early,
episode number 9
Wow.
you were on. You can go back and check it, but I'm going to promise you, it's not going to look great. And it's probably not going to sound great. You can go and compare and see how much we have grown in a short amount of time, I guess.
As I've been listening to your podcast and listening to your work, it's I have to give you big props.
Thank you, man.
It's been a really great thing to see you become very polished at this.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to get better at interviewing and not interviewing, conversationalist. If I
You
could,
were good conversations.
yeah. But it's good. We've grown from just one show to 6. A lot has changed. The table, the look has changed.
Yeah.
We're in a fancy studio. We're not in a kitchen anymore. We're still in the kitchen. We just hung curtains up. So it's been a journey, man, and I'm glad that we can come back and hang out and talk.
Maybe
again.
we should do a thing where it's like, okay, so from 9 to 90.
Yeah.
So maybe again we talk when you hit about like 190 or so.
We can do it way sooner than that. I like having conversations with you.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we'll make that happen soon. But
Yeah.
you know, at the rate that you're going, 190 should probably roll around pretty quick.
Maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely.
We got to do one from inside the studios one day.
Yeah,
I like that.
awesome.
I like different backdrops.
Yeah.
So before we get into we'll get the fun stuff out of the way. Check the links below. You can find our links for our merch page. You could find links to Michael's stuff for Retro Lovely Ball, the Retro Lovely magazine, which leads to the ball. We'll talk to the ball.
So enthralled with the ball.
Oh, I
experience.
had such a good time
Yeah.
at that ball. So you can check out the magazine, where to find the magazine if you want to be booked in the magazine, where you can get merchandise, which we talked. Teespring needs to hire me.
We had a huddle, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got some great stuff.
Yeah, I think Teespring needs to like throw me a bone because I've sent so many people to them.
Do they have any sort of like a program where if you refer people, you
don't
get
know, maybe.
maybe feedback?
Probably.
You should look into that.
I should. I was like, I've literally sent probably 30 people to Teespring.
That's got to be worth something.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So check out we have T-shirts. You can get hoodies, banisters.
Banisters.
Yeah, you can get banisters.
Custom banisters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with,
they got like a wood lathe.
You can check all that out on the links below and show support. You can follow us over on anywhere. If you're watching live, that's awesome. But we do have audio only, so if you want to listen to us in your car, and one of our many shows that are on there, we cover a lot of different topics. But this is obviously the interviews to everyday people. So you see in the title, if people who are watching who don't know who you are, tell everybody your name and what you do.
I am Michael Bann. I am the publisher of Retro Lovely magazine, and I've been doing that for about 10 years now. You know what, too? Right there. I want you to keep me on my honor as far as like saying one thing I was thinking about, like
ums. Yeah,
have you gotten consciously better at that? Because like
I don't even think about
I
it.
have
I just
listened
talk.
to the thing I did with Josephine. I was mortified afterwards. Like when you're in the moment, you don't even realize how much you use those crutches.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, I was like, if this was a drinking game, I would be drunk in like 2 minutes. All that nonsense.
I don't know. I don't really stress myself of what I say sometimes.
Well,
I just kind of go.
You just talk like you're talking to a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably good. I'm still gonna be conscious and try not to say so much. Or all that stuff.
I think I do a pretty good job of pulling the person out of the idea that they're like. There's definitely a flip that switches. Like when I'm doing this, like I can see when someone sits down and they're nervous or uncomfortable. It's their first time and they don't know how to do it. And then like probably 20, 30 minutes in, you see that barrier just drop.
Oh yeah.
And they're just like, then they just forget this is all here, and then we have a great conversation.
I see that with photo shoots too.
Yeah.
Where the person's nervous initially, and then once they get into that groove, it just changes.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. So yeah.
But to continue, I publish Retro Lovely, and interestingly enough, we can talk about like qualifiers. I just got really loud.
Yeah, I'm just giving you a
Heard
little
us.
bit of bump.
I see what
Yeah.
you did. The thing of it is, recently I realized that I've now got over 500 publications out.
Yeah.
So in the scheme of things, for what we do, which is like pinup, oriented photography, you obviously are aware of this. There's nobody that's like gone anywhere close to that. The last year has been an explosion of adding some titles and releasing more product to the point where I can say confidently we're number one in print.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say we sell the most. I want to make that distinction. We're number one as far as releases.
Yeah.
We're number one as far as having probably more submissions and getting more product out just by the volume that's coming, across the wire. I actually wish there was a way to know what sales were. But the thing of it is, with the industry anymore, there's no real accounting. There's no resource that audits these kinds of things. If you were on like newsstands, in order to justify your ad rates, there are auditing things available for that. But for the sort of publication that we have now, where it's very low volume and it's a hybrid between social and then an actual physical print product. In that realm, there's a lot of publications that exist. In that realm and pinup, there's nobody doing as much as we are right now.
Yeah,
And it's
I
kinda
have
exciting.
I have some gifts. I got some stickers. One's on the table already. I can't open this, right? But this is kind of an idea what to expect. It's gonna be hard to see on the camera, but this is the calendar he just made. The Retro Lovely.
Actually, if you flip the back too, you got the other title that we just started. Started back up. Venus Cult.
Venus Cult. There's no autofocus on here because if I turn it on with the live, it puts a box on me.
yeah.
But it's the best way I could describe it. It's rock star pinup art. Because there's no there's tattoos, there's piercings, there's a little bit of everything for everybody, and it's not. And it's all different shapes, colors, sizes, and orientations of people. There's no not every there's models in here that are as skinny as a rail, which is fine, and there's models in here who are more curvy girls, and that's great too.
Right.
There's no
Absolutely.
it's a great. I like the theme of the magazine, and experiencing. We'll get into a little bit later, like the retro lovely ball and hanging out with the people and the stuff like that. Your theme of your magazine carries through your personality, and it also carries over to the people who you work with in the magazine too. It's a very welcoming, loving, accepting, everyone's accepted group of people. It's like a family.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, and it's awesome. And we were able to go last year as the podcast. We kind of did a little bit of banging beers interviews at Everyday People there because they had beer there as well, which is amazing. Which actually led to us going to the brewery.
Right.
It made a cool connection, but it's just it's a cool thing, and a lot of people don't realize that you're out of Pottsville. Like this magazine is made in Schuylkill County.
Right.
It's made in Pottsville. You have brought people from all over the globe to Pottsville, Pennsylvania, to do photo shoots in your building.
Yeah.
And which is awesome. And it's something I don't think a lot of people realize that it's even happening in their community.
They don't. I mean, COVID has changed things, of course.
Yeah.
But actually, I remember it was a few months. Well, I guess it's a few years ago now. But I had a conversation with. Have you ever been to Jerry's Auto Museum in Pottsville?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never been in it, but I know where it is.
Or his museum, because
Yeah.
he has a lot of dioramas and stuff. It's not just cars.
Yeah.
But when I was talking to him about doing something in there, he made the comment about being the second biggest tourist attraction after Yingling. And he's probably right. And I said to him, after a little pause, I said, you realize I'm probably the third biggest tourist attraction. I said, most of the people that come to the studio are from out of the area, at least by 2 hours, if not better.
Yeah.
The vast majority of them. And it's really interesting when you say it that way, because some of them come and they stay at the Ramada. You know what I mean? It's a very bizarre thing.
Yeah.
It's a very, very strange thing to even kind of think about.
And there's so many people who have come through who have done stuff in our area that they would have never found this area if it wasn't for the magazine.
Right.
Like Scarlett, Scarlett the Clown.
Yeah.
She came and did one of her freak shows in Pottsville.
At the Anvets.
At the Anvits, because she found the area through the magazine. She's like, this would be awesome here. We should come through and.
Well, that was Cousin Dave.
Yeah, well, Dave's had it up too, but she would have never found Cousin Dave. She would have never found Pottsville. She would if she wasn't here for the magazine.
And I don't know if you ever heard that story, but after she and I had worked together, we had done a shoot, and we were, as happens very often, you get something to eat.
Yeah.
Right? You don't eat before because you don't want to be bloated when you're as a model when you're doing the thing. And if you're active doing something too, you don't want a heavy load in your stomach when you're working. We get done, we're hungry, so let's get something to eat. I think we went to Wheel up the Savises, and we're on the corner waiting for the light to change. And
Dave.
this Jeep stops at the traffic light. It's red. it's cousin Dave, and it's like, hey, Dave, right? And he's like talking, and the light turns green, and he goes up by Roma's, and we still don't get the walk light yet, so we're still at the corner. And then here comes another Jeep that looks just, wait a minute, it's Dave. It's Dave again. And I just said to him,
I think
"No."
Scarlett helped.
She helped, but I think he was needling. I think he was working the angle to get an invite to join us.
Yes.
And I finally said, hey, we're getting something to eat. Do you want to join us? And it was like, yes.
Yeah.
Then we started to talk. And
Yeah.
it was, what do you do? And he's like, well, I want to do some things too. And that was the introduction.
He
That's
does
how it
he
happened.
does do promotions, and he does Dave.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave's promotions are really good. He does put together good shows. Good shows.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's how it works.
Yeah.
Networking is, you never know what connection is going to be made when.
Absolutely.
How many times in your life have you ever had something where you think, wow, I would not have this opportunity if it wasn't for that dumb thing that happened,
All the time.
and because I talked to somebody.
Yeah, all the time.
And you know what? It's a worthwhile thing. It's like if you're not really super outgoing or personable with people that you don't know, it's a bit of a shame, because a lot of times the stupidest conversation or the most subtle thing, anecdotal thing that you could say to somebody could lead to something that at one day means a lot to you.
Yeah.
Something trivial to something
It
grand.
it happens all the time with because we're coming up on 2 years for this, and I'll go out and see people wearing like a T-shirt or my cartoon face, or
Yeah.
someone comes and goes, "Oh, you're the guy from the podcast," and it's and then we make a kind of connection, and sometimes those connections lead to like really good friendships or really good like, hey, I do this thing, and if you should like I don't know, it's awesome. Like I did the interview I was showing you at the Majestic Theater, which then led to me meeting Tori, who now works on 2 of my shows and helps with a bunch of logos, and she's an amazing support person on this show. She's actually in the chat.
I was just gonna say, there's people over there.
Yeah, let's see. She says, "I love doing pinup." She just did a photo shoot with one of her friends.
Oh yeah.
So there is a lot of people who when we talked about doing this episode again, they're all like, "I would love to get into everyone's in photography." And I said, "Man, you don't even realize there's a magazine publication in our area." And so one of the things you do, that obviously not now because of COVID, but hopefully it does come back, is you do workshops.
Yes.
I can attest for Nikolai. I'll speak for Nikolai. Nikolai, who did interviews, and he was on our episode with us. He was in a lot of earlier stuff, and now he's back on Knock Hole in High School. He did 2 or 3 year workshops.
He's done 2 so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of his photos from the workshop then made your
Right.
magazine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was just he knows photography, but he's never done it like as a profession or a business really. And he came in, did a workshop. You taught him a lot of really cool things. He loved it.
And
he had such a blast.
The thing I could say to anybody, if I'm not even just talking like a photography workshop, I'm talking any kind of workshop has value. And what's fascinating about this is, you would think you've seen it, you've done it. Like I've been in photography since 1980 something.
Yeah.
Okay. You never stop learning. And what's fascinating to me, and then I've said this when we do these workshops, literally by the end of it, there's probably something I'm going to learn as well.
Yeah.
And it's just by working with some other people, hearing them talk about things, or possibly proposing something they're having difficulty with, and then thinking about it and trying to find a solution for it. Sometimes that gives you a new tool.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, because it is possible to get so inside your own box that you stagnate.
Yeah.
And cross-pollinating with other people, even if it's in a mentoring capacity, even if it's you sharing with them things that you know and things that you've encountered, very often you get something back as well that you didn't count on.
Yeah.
So highly encourage any kind, like if you have an inclination to do something, watching YouTube videos is great. Reading is fine. If you can get hands-on with somebody who's been there, well worth it.
Yeah. So, if that's something, if you're listening, or you're listening and you are a photographer in the area, reach out. Like when this whole COVID thing goes over, jump in one of those workshops, connect with each other. Because the cool thing about Retro Lovely too is a lot of people don't realize is a lot of your photos in your magazine aren't all done by you as well.
Oh.
You have other photographers who take photos, then send them to you,
If it's-
and they make the magazine that way as well.
That's the vast majority of it.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as it goes, if you want to talk like in sheer output and volume, in the past 2 years, I may have like a percentage of a percent, like a fraction of a percentage of my own work in them.
Yeah.
It is international. I mean, I get, like right now we're working on a couple special editions. One's, it's dedicated to Australia. It's Australian talent. So it's photographers, models they've been submitting for the last few months, and it's really picked up to the point where, as I look at I keep a database with all the the stuff that comes in. As I look at it, it's going to be a huge issue. Like it's going to be multi-volumes. It's not going to be like one magazine. It's going to be like several. And even right now, I'm doing one with hot rods. I'm on like the 4th one. There's even more to come. It's probably going to be like 5 or 6 volumes.
So if someone goes out and does a photo shoot, they can. How would they go about taking that photo, doing what they have to do, and then submitting it to Retro Lovely?
It's real simple, and it's the thing that most people don't do these days because they're impatient and they don't want to like research anything. As a publisher, I can't encourage anybody enough to do a little bit of homework. If you ask that question, what would I do? What would you think is one of the first?
I would say go to your social media or website and send a message, or there should be a tab to click on.
There's a tab that says submissions.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And a lot of people don't do that anymore. And
No.
it blows my mind because I spend a lot of time and effort to give people the tools they need to make it easy.
Yeah.
But they choose not to. And I love it when somebody follows the directions. And I'll be honest, it has gotten to the point where I have that much volume and that many people who don't want to like research anything that I've literally removed the email address from the website. I pulled it off every place. You have to like know it to have it right now.
Yeah.
If you want to contact me, you're gonna have to like fill out a contact form on the website.
Yeah.
Because what happens, and it's frustrating, and you have to think about it this way: if there's something that you want to do, you got to make it as easy as possible for the person you want something from. Okay. And I'll give you a great case example of this from a couple of years ago. Most people in any sort of like media or production, they're overtaxed. It's not an exaggeration to say that more of my day is spent looking at a database and looking at submissions, the data from it, and correlating things than I do even looking at photos or putting them into a layout or creating a cover. More of my time is spent on clerical, administrative kind of stuff. So to get the most efficiency out of it, because I mean, I'm a one-man shop at this point.
All right. Amen, brother.
It's just me. If I get an email from somebody and they want to ask 15 different questions and they've got this and they got that, and it ends up being like 5 emails back and forth, that dramatically impacts what I'm able to do.
Yeah.
It impacts my bottom line. It impacts how much I can get done. And I've structured everything, and I've tried to get it to the point where it's almost like self-service, where everything you need is on that website. And when you go, there's actual guidance on that submission form. There's things that it tells you. I do sort of want to get maybe even into some more things to give some people some guidance because quite honestly, I'll still get those queries and things where people kind of want me to teach them how to be a photographer and kind of want to teach me how to, like, you know what I mean, do all these things that really is part of their discovery process, something that they should learn. But the reality of it is, do your homework, check it out. There's a lot of great information on there, and follow the guidance. And it's going to be different for every publication. Different publications will have different ways about going about something. Some of them will say, yes, email us, send us your files. Others, like me, I have a submission form. And here's the thing that's critical. To give you a good example, in the early days of Retro Lovely, when I first started it, they were printed by the thousands.
Yeah.
Okay. This is back in the day, like 10 years ago, before smartphones, before social media. People still bought magazines. Okay. When I was printing thousands of magazines, we were actually selling them to people. And back then, and this is something that probably sounds surreal to people, but back then, my goal was to create a vehicle that would allow everybody that took part a resource to leverage for however they needed to, take advantage of it. And in those days, we literally, when we put on an issue, like say you're a photographer like Nikolai, you do a shoot, you get content in the publication, and we produce it and we get it out. Part of the thing was, back then, I'd send the content creators free copies, postage paid, like as a thank you for using their work in the thing that we were selling. And I wanted to build a resource that we could get it to a point where it had reach and opportunities. And back then, I sold enough of them that I was able to actually like grow it a bit and still give back to those creators. I mean, it wasn't like 20 years prior to that where a magazine would come to you as an artist and say, we really want to publish your story or your poem or your photograph. Here's $300. Okay. Once upon a time, that's how it was.
And now it's like, hey, we want to publish your story. Cool. You have to pay us $300.
Well, you know what's really fascinating to me right now is there are entire ecosystems devoted to submission systems.
Mhm.
There's a website called Caviar, Kavyar,
Yeah.
and it is literally dozens, possibly hundreds, of publishers that list open calls for their publications, and the website charges a fee to those publishers to put it out there. Some of those publishers are allowed to monetize the submission process. It costs you to submit the material.
Yeah.
And it's a company. I can understand why, because for me, like I said about sort of like getting rid of the email address, I've got to maximize my time. There's more people that want to be published than I have time to like talk to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personally.
Yeah, everybody wants. If you're a photographer, I would feel like one of your goals has to be to
Of course, you want your work to be seen.
Yeah, you want it to be seen. You want to be in a magazine. So
I mean, and the thing of it is, you can publish yourself right now today on Facebook or Instagram.
Instagram.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But there's a couple things with it. It's a matter of how much reach do you have on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Hitching your wagon to another horse to get it seen by more people, that's attractive.
Yeah.
And there's also a validation process.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not just you putting a photograph online saying, how awesome is that? Okay. When you have somebody else hold it up and say, this has value, that's an endorsement. That's buy-in. That's an outside source. It's not your mom and dad saying, hey, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Or your girlfriend saying, that's a great photograph. It's a stranger saying, I like this.
Yeah.
It's somebody outside.
There's an app I was messing with. I don't know why that's still going. There was an app I was messing with. It was a photography app, and you can put your photos on this app, and then people like score it, and like and it would be like, oh, your photo is in like the top 1,000 of the world.
How about that?
Yeah, it was a really fun little photography
that?
game on your phone that you can do. You should check it out. It's a lot of fun.
I'm curious to see how that worked. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to look it up. I'll check in a minute. If you start going on a story, I'll kind of quick type it in so I can talk about it. But yeah, it's like I said, it's really really cool what you've done and what you're doing. I know how you were telling before with the workshop. Nikolai went and got a print of his thing. He went and bought the magazine of it. It was an awesome experience for him. He absolutely loved it. Yeah.
I've got another one. We actually had one scheduled for, it was prior to COVID kicking in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually a cover workshop.
I think he was in on that one, and then it got canceled or something.
I don't know if he actually signed up. I don't know what happened. I had two guys that we're going to reschedule it. We're going to do something a little bit differently because I've been in contact with them on a regular basis. They've become partner studios with the magazine. They've both done some really great work.
Mm-hmm.
One has already had a cover, and I think the other is going to get one pretty soon from some things that are going on. But the thing that's interesting for me is I would actually really like to sort of almost like make it available as like a video tutorial or something, because probably the biggest problem that I have is when I get submissions and I see great work. There's several times a week I'll see an image and I'll look at it and there's something about it that catches me and I think, could I use that as a cover for something? And then a lot of times the next thing that happens is my eye starts to size it up and look at the composition. And I'm not just talking like what they had in the scene, what's in the background, what's the setting, how's the model posed, all these different things. I mean, that's important too. But a lot of times what I've been noticing is in the last, number of years doing this, lots of people who shoot photography, they get their camera and they compose for what they see in the frame. And most 35 millimeter cameras, they're using the equivalent of what used to be a 35 millimeter piece of film. The shape of that thing is in a ratio of 2 to 3. It's like when you get like a 4x6 print.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same size as what you took with your camera. But now you got to try. Now somebody says, I want a 5x7 of that, or a 4x5. Sometimes cropping it doesn't look so good anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It looks weird. The shape is not quite right, or some aspect of it got cut off. And that's the thing that I see most with the publication being an 8.5x11 format. Camera sensors are taller, let's say. They're wider, depending on the orientation. And people don't account for that. And they compose themselves into a corner where it looks great in the camera, looks great on the computer, looks great on your phone because it's the same aspect ratio.
Yeah, but it doesn't translate to the book.
But as soon as I got to try and put it in the magazine, all of a sudden, important stuff might be getting cut off.
Yeah.
Or more importantly, if you look at the image on your phone or in your camera, you see all that image, right? Well, in something like this, when they produce something like that, they don't just print right to the edge of their paper.
Mm-hmm.
They started with a bigger piece of paper, print it beyond it, and then cut it down to size.
Yeah.
So now if I have to cut away some of what you composed, it makes it even tighter still.
Mm-hmm.
And I see so many people, they really don't think about the final product that they might need to use it with. They don't think about the fact that this is a shorter frame than the camera is. And
Okay, we'll slide that in a little bit to you.
and
Okay.
there's a thing where it's I think a workshop for that, there's a lot of pitfalls that people have that they just don't think about because they're not thinking outside of
Yeah.
what's in front of them immediately.
Because they're probably, if they're doing photography, they probably help do like maternity photos or like pre-engagement photos, or they're doing like, I don't want to say the typical, but like starter photography stuff, like shooting your friends.
Even irrespective of what type of photography it is,
Yeah.
they're just not thinking about the fact that
What it takes to be
it'll need to be
publicized.
reformatted.
Yeah.
And there's implications that, like, sometimes I see fantastic images that are landscape orientation, so wide,
Mhm.
right? And I look at them and I go, I love that, and I would love to use it in the magazine as like a 2-page spread, but the model is dead center, right? Which means her face is going to be in the crease.
Yeah.
I got some photographers that I know, and it's like when I see their work, and I look at the photos, I look at it and I say, it's almost as if they envisioned it as a 2-page spread, because it fills 2 panels, and the model's off to the side just enough that I see her all, and she's not cut up, and it works.
Mhm.
It's almost like they are thinking about it. I mean, quite honestly, like for me, for like the last 10 years, I think about it too.
Yeah.
When I look at it, I think, if I had to use it this way, what would I do with it? How would I compose it differently to make it more flexible down the road? Some people just don't want to crop anything after the fact. They want to get it perfect in the camera.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's admirable. But in doing so, you also tie your hands as far as, I don't know, maybe someday somebody saw it on a stock website and said, I want to use that as packaging for something, or as an album cover, or this or that. And the formatting could fight you. It might be
Yeah.
a situation where it just won't lend itself well to some other kind of like, situation that way.
Yeah, Misty, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the thing. It's Retro Lovely magazine. If you check the links, you'll be linked straight to the Facebook page, and as well as the website. You can check it out: Instagram, Twitter, the whole nine.
The website's the best. I'll be honest. I kind of like don't even think about Facebook.
No,
It's such a dead space anymore.
the Twitter and you're pretty big
Instagram
on
is like the
Instagram.
big. Yeah. Well, the thing for Instagram too is like
OnlyFans.
I can post it there and it trickles down to Facebook.
Yeah.
But I honestly forget about Facebook.
Yeah,
Because they kind of like took the fangs out of it a couple of years ago. They
Yeah.
made it almost like worthless.
absolutely. Yeah, it's right now. It's the best thing for me. It's helping the most, but it's still.
Well, there's lots of huge advantages for this, for
Yeah.
like the video and linking and everything.
Yeah, it's definitely. If they were to shut down the video, it would be tough because I have to
That would change
rebuild, and then I mean I still put on YouTube, but YouTube is not as going as the Facebook aspect is.
That's interesting.
Because I think a lot of our people, especially in this area and a lot of social media, I think Facebook is the easiest platform for people to. It's like
For sharing. And
Yeah, for sharing
that
and-
interconnectivity. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
yeah, so like
Facebook probably loves that,
Yeah.
because there was a couple of years ago, they were desperate to get people to start doing video on here because they were losing hours of time to people looking at shit on
on YouTube. Yep,
And if they're on YouTube, they're not looking at ads on here.
yep,
So they love a guy like you.
yeah.
Yeah, they should give you some money for what you just
Help,
said.
help me out, Facebook. Help me out.
Facebook, this guy's helping you guys out.
If you are watching, hit the share button on Facebook and put us out there, and you'll get a little thing on the bottom. Your name will pop up. You'll feel really good about it. It'll give you, your endorphins will kick in, and you'll feel like a good person afterwards.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah. So one of the things that I like about the magazine, we talked about before, all shapes and sizes, all color, everything. It's something for everybody. The tattoos. I find myself when I look at an image on your magazine, how you were saying before, it's not just about the model. Like you're looking at the room, you're looking at what's on the set, you're looking at her tattoos are so clear you could see every detail of it. Like there's so much to it. It's like World War II pinup style meets
Some of
rock
it
and
is,
roll.
yeah, absolutely,
It's really fun.
There's been some really great hybrids have kind of developed over the past couple of years
Yeah.
that didn't exist before. I mean, it's definitely a hybrid. I mean, what we do is not like vintage reenacting.
Yeah.
It pays homage to retro styles and vintage things.
Yep.
But it's not just that. It's it's an amalgamation of things.
Yeah.
And actually, somebody recently, when everything happened with earlier this year with a lot of your social dilemmas with people and racial aspects and things, and I really loved that I saw this, but there was a graphic, and I think it showed some women of different colors, just like silhouettes, and it said, vintage styles, not vintage values. And I love that. Because what's really interesting is, like, you just talked about tattoos, and I remember in the early days of Retro Lovely when Facebook was actually viable, and like you'd post something on there, and tens of thousands of people would see it in minutes. Okay, back then they flooded it out there. People would see this stuff, and I would see comments from people, and occasionally, if I posted something with a model with tattoos, I would see a comment by what I would imagine to be some old white guy somewhere, bitching and complaining about her tattoos.
She
and
ruined her body.
How she ruined her body, and in the old days, women didn't have tattoos. And the one day, there was one gentleman. I don't even feel good calling him gentleman, but there was one man who riled me. Like, I try not to engage people that way. I try not to, like, give them that satisfaction to know that they piss me off.
Yeah.
But he had said something, and I literally was like, yeah. And in the old days, they couldn't vote or own property, and their husbands could make them go to an insane asylum if they were inconvenient. Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days.
It's like, come on,
Scumbag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fist bump on that.
Yeah. It is, and it's a thing too. Like, experiencing the ball and experiencing people who you've worked with and stuff like that. It's like very empowering to the women too. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, I've seen people who, like, you've told me stories too, and I've seen them outside. Like, I've seen women who are much older, where you would think you're too old to model, or you're too curvy, or you're too this. And then they come in and do a photo shoot with you, and they leave like they are a queen.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
they feel like they are a goddess.
Mm-hmm.
Their confidence is through the roof. They feel beautiful. They feel like what they did was amazing, and it was amazing because everyone has their own qualities, and I think you do a great job capturing that in your photography.
And that transcends into the publication too, because it is really diverse. There's some days where, like, you'll pick up an issue, or if you see an issue, the diversity of different types and styles, they all coexist. I mean, sometimes we do special editions where it's just one sort of theme. Like we do a heavy inked edition, which is all tattoos. Right now, I'm excited.
Halloween?
Well, Halloween's huge. Like, every year, Halloween is like, it's the biggest time for the publication and the biggest issues. And last year we had 10 volumes. I mean, it was like 600-700 pages of Halloween content.
That's awesome.
And I actually believe that this year's going to be like even more, in spite of COVID, because the volume of submissions that I've been getting is off the hook. Like, I actually have a goal that I'm going to start releasing them ahead of Halloween, just so that it's not like, oh, here's the Halloween edition and it's 15 volumes of 80 pages. Okay, I kind of want to basically do, like, I want to almost make Halloween like a month-long event. We're literally doing a Halloween calendar.
Yeah.
We're going to start the new year on November 1st. And New Year's Eve is going to be October 31st. Okay, so it's going to be an actual Halloween calendar.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I want to do, like, 12 days of Christmas. I want to do the 12 days of Halloween where, like, prior to the 31st, I'm starting to release those issues.
Yeah.
So it's not all at
Halloween
once.
doesn't get enough love.
No.
It's like one day and then we're done.
Yeah, and so we want it to be the whole month.
Yeah, I take the whole
So
month.
tomorrow it starts.
Yeah.
If I have my way, in a couple of days, I'll start releasing some of the Halloween stuff.
Perfect.
But one of the other additions that it's kind of bittersweet too, because it was when everything happened with George Floyd.
Yeah.
All right. Months before that, I was talking to a gentleman that I got to know. He put out some books called Chocolate Cheesecake, and they were books that were dedicated to women of color in pinup. Something that had been neglected in the past. And he put out these books, and I actually had work in one of them, and I got to know him, and he's a really cool dude. And it's funny because we talk about circumstances and connections. There was a point one day where he sent me a message, and we're talking about something, and he just casually said, he says, "Were you by any chance the same Michael Bann that was in the band Advent Sleep?" I was like, I hadn't heard that in a while. I'm like, actually, yeah. I'm like, well, how would you know that? Because he's like a doctor of, I forget what his title is, but he's a professor at a college in, like, Kansas.
Yeah.
He's a black man.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about it is it's my band was like gothic industrial. And he said,
you pigeonhole people thinking you're only
yeah, right. And he goes, "I used to listen to you guys in college." And I was like, "Really?" Right? And I'm like, because you never think that.
Yeah.
And what you said, you shouldn't pigeonhole people. He's a fan of that genre, and, like, it was such a weird thing.
Yeah.
But we talked.
Well, pinup art and pinup magazines weren't made for girls of color or girls of different. It was white girls.
Yeah.
That's all it was, because it was like war times. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
and all the segregation that existed.
segregation was a huge thing. So
Yeah.
now when you see a beautiful woman of color or a different orientation. I mean, everyone's accepted, but it's to know the history of what you're doing, and then saying you see a person of color doing it. It's like that's a big thing.
And it's really
Because
interesting
the
for me,
history of
too.
photography isn't kind to stuff like that.
Absolutely, and there's several things about this that are worth talking about. I've had conversations like this before with different people that I collaborate with, be it photographers, sometimes models. With the publication, anytime I've ever done anything with it, it was never done in a way to be sensationalized or taken advantage of. So, even from the early days, my policy had always been everybody's welcome. It's good imagery, let me see it. There wasn't like, I'm not going to do tattooed girls. I'm going to like, no tattoos. I'm not going to exclude or anything like that. And we had women of color since like the second issue. But even when they've been in the issues, or if they're Asian or if they're Latino, never has it been a situation where I release the issue and go, oh, look, and we have an Asian.
Yeah, it's
Or
the Asian edition.
We have a black girl, right?
Yeah.
It was never like,
it just fits right in with the rest of the pages.
it isn't an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. And it was
Yeah.
never an issue for me. So we've always done that. And I probably have a couple dozen like cover models that have been black.
Yeah.
So even still, you occasionally will see a woman of color will make a comment like, there's not enough representation. And it's like, I really want to say to them, well, I represent you as much as you guys send me stuff to represent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Send me more stuff, please. Please give it to me. I love it. But you don't want to go there. And I think it was like probably like January, February. No, actually, it was late last year. I was talking to Dr. Coxon, and I said, how would you feel about like, doing like a chocolate cheesecake issue of the magazine?
Or like Black History Month.
Yeah, and I said to him, I don't want to do it myself. I don't want to like just go and do like a black edition, right? I said, because there's possibly implications or motives. Like, what's their motive?
Yeah.
And I've never made
That's
a big
true,
deal
too.
about it,
Yeah.
and I don't want to. But it's something that he established already. It's a vehicle that he had in place with this book publisher, actually out of Pennsylvania. And I said, do you have plans to do like another book? And he wasn't so sure if like that was in the cards. And I said, well, if you would ever want to like, collaborate, I'd be thrilled to do like a chocolate cheesecake edition with you. And you could co-curate it, and you can, help select the material, choose the covers, and write a forward, all these different things. I'm like, it'll be me working for you for this vehicle. And what was interesting was we talked about it, and he was really behind it. And I got busy, he got busy, months passed, and then everything happened with George Floyd. And I said to him, now we have the dilemma. If we revisit it, does it seem like we're reacting?
Yeah. Or are we forcing it?
Right.
We're trying to make a buck off of
the timing
of the timing.
is terrible, right?
Because you want to be supportive and you want to show support, but also you don't
want
want
to be the person with the Black Lives Matters T-shirts that some white guy in Kansas selling and making money on it.
Exactly.
Right. So the thing of it was, when we talked about it again, I said to him, and I said honestly, I don't care about like making money on this one. I'm like, let's donate the thing.
Proceeds.
Let's donate the proceeds to a cause.
Yeah.
And at the time when we were talking about it, and this is even bittersweet talking about it, because I personally have always had that sort of like philosophy and mindset that anytime you hear somebody talking about the charitable things that they do, there's an ulterior motive. Okay, they're doing it because they want recognition or whatever. They're getting that from it in a way that kind of diminishes its value.
Yeah.
Like I love how like the Jehovah's Witnesses, they do all kinds of like charitable things, but they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They do lots of stuff.
They just do it.
They don't brag about it. They don't talk about it. They just do it. And that's been how I've operated. And initially when we talked about it, he was behind that as well. And then like, more recently, we actually started to talk about it, and he said, you know what? Let's actually he said, I think I would feel better if we actually did note that we are not capitalizing on this, that we're going to donate the money to like the NAACP,
Yeah.
legal defense fund or something else. And I'm like, okay, cool. If you're comfortable with it, I think it's more appropriate that you make that call.
Yeah.
I said, I'll rally what you want to do with that, and we'll
Now,
take
was
it from
that published as a Retro Lovely, or was that published as a chocolate cheesecake?
there. I'm sorry again.
Was that published as a chocolate cheesecake magazine, or was that published as a Retro Lovely?
It'll be Retro Lovely Chocolate Cheesecake Edition,
Okay, cool.
and it's going to be multiple volumes. Like I think there's like 4 volumes of that. That was very
Nice.
it's going to be huge too.
Now,
I'm,
do you
so
sell
close to it.
like I'm thinking like comic book wise here, right? So you could buy like a single issue, or you could buy like the compendium where it's like, so if you have like the Halloween edition is going to be 5 things, like you release individual ones, but then at the end of the month you're like, here's a full book of all of them together.
I did that last year at the holidays. The holidays edition, which is Christmas, Yom Kippur, all your holidays around the end of the year.
Yeah.
It was multiple volumes as well, and I did like the mega edition, which is like a 300-page thing. It was like a phone book of Christmas pinup. But
They're good coffee table books.
The problem with it is it gets prohibitively. It's so expensive to do those because we're not mass producing them anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they're made one at a time, so there's no efficiency in scale. There's no cost effectiveness, and the thing just gets crazy expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's it's kind of like the drag of it, to do it that way.
So where exactly do you stand during this COVID as a photography business, and what is the state of Retro Lovely during this pandemic, and what are the plans or things you're looking forward to post pandemic, or hopefully this ends sometime soon?
It's really interesting there too, because when it really kicked in, several things I didn't know like from day one, like the nation is shutting down businesses, right? Well, I rely on third-party producers for the actual product. Will they be allowed to produce? Like, I didn't know for like, it was a couple of weeks. I was just like, are they going to be shut down? Will the people that actually print the product be able to continue operating? Now, it kind of seems ironic, but like they were considered essential because they were printing things for public service. It doesn't seem really fair that a pinup magazine is essential.
It is.
People are losing their jobs and their livelihoods. In another arenas.
But we still need media. Media is important,
But
especially if
because-
you're locked in your house.
But because they were allowed to continue, I was allowed to continue as well.
Yeah.
Now the problem becomes all the photo studios are kind of like in limbo and shut down. Everybody's not shooting.
Yeah.
And the next thing that I kind of like started to look at was, wow, so it's possible that we could run out of content. Is it possible that in a month there's nothing to publish? And it did slow down. I can't say that there was a point where it cooled off a bit. But then at the same time, knowing that people were like, cooped up and shut in, we started another product called Scrapbook, which was...
Someone just, from listening, they said, I just heard and submitted my work to his magazine today. I'm super excited.
There you go.
There you go.
What's your name? What's the name on it?
Shauna, I'm terrible with the last name, Leanne, Menchace.
I'll look for that.
Yeah.
In fact, if you submitted it recently and didn't get an email from me, it's because I'm here with Anthony.
Yeah.
I've been really anal retentive about like when stuff comes in.
Yeah.
I get on it immediately because one of the things in the industry is a lot of people do it as a side hustle, and they do it when they can fit it in around their lives.
It is hard to be a one-man show.
Yeah. So
it really is.
So the thing is,
I can
like,
attest.
I've been doing it as a full-time thing since COVID started, and that feedback, that quickness of response is very important to people.
Yeah.
And it's been one of the things that I think has helped me. Now, talking about, when COVID started and the dearth of material, it was really interesting, but like something occurred to me. People are cooped up, and I started to notice models doing very creative things at home.
Creativity, I think. All right, so this pandemic has been awful. People have died. That's not good, right? So I don't want to say this pandemic has been good, right?
Absolutely not, right.
But if there is a half glass full, because that's kind of my mentality in life. I always try to find positives in the negative. So I'm not going to say the pandemic was a good thing at all. It wasn't at all.
Right.
But I think in the positive side, it made people who are content creators, it made people who are creative individuals step their game up and have to change the way they do things to stay relevant.
Right.
And I think that's what's kind of allude to what your project was during COVID here.
Oh, absolutely. And,
Yeah.
and the thing is, noticing people doing creative things, seeing a lot of models do things on their own at home with their cell phones.
Yeah.
Right.
Which take great photos.
We literally started this thing called Scrapbook. And, in the past, nothing would ever get published unless it was professionally shot. Actually, I stand corrected. Even in the early days when we were printing by the thousands, in the very back of the magazine was a section called Corkboard. and it looked like a corkboard, and people would send in selfies and oddball stuff, and we put it on there with a little thumbtack, and it was like a fun thing.
Yeah.
Not professional, but they could still participate.
Has a cell phone image ever made the magazine, like a full page?
In some of our taboo editions, it has.
Really?
Yeah. There was a couple models that were doing some extremely creative things with well, taboo edition is where it's like the nudes and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's nude, but it's not.
It's not trashy.
It's not like Hustler where there's I don't know how to
You know
like
what? I always
nothing's
just-
spread, nothing's open.
I used to always say that to people. They'd say, "Well, what's taboo like?" I said, "Well,
Playboy.
It might be shocking for Hugh Hefner, but it would bore to death the publisher of Hustler.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I don't know.
Larry Flint.
Yeah, Larry
It
Flint.
would bore to death Larry Flint.
Yeah.
That's where
It's
at.
a lot of like boob and like naked, but it's not like the legs are crossed or it's not like
It's not a gynecological exam.
yeah, you're not seeing
getting
her
a
name and address or
full-
social security number. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still it's done very classy.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's extremely popular as a result.
Yeah.
And there have been some girls who have done something like there was actually a cover. A girl actually she got a cover of one of the taboo editions with a selfie.
It's awesome.
And it was great. Well, it was a professional camera that she was using, so it wasn't a cell phone. She was actually using like an SLR
okay.
that she had, so she had some guns on her to hold that up.
Yeah.
But she did it, and that was fun. But the thing is, with Scrapbook, it's all like selfies and candids and behind the scenes stuff,
Yeah.
and it's super inclusive and it's fun, and everybody got to participate with the stuff they were doing at home. And honestly, for like the first 2 months when that came out, it was so well received and supported that it served as a bridge. I mean, if I hadn't started that one I did right there, I personally probably would have been in some trouble. You know, it was literally a thing where it was like the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, even though things have opened up a bit in some areas, it is still popular. I mean, it's become part of the stable.
Chris Merciano says he loves the Scrapbook edition.
See,
There you go.
isn't it fun?
He said I
Yeah.
got 2 emails back today, and he submitted a lot, so you did respond back to it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I try. And interestingly too, like I actually started to like put a little note with my acceptance things where I basically say, because what was funny, like, okay, so here's my workflow. I get up usually at like 4 or 5, and I go into my living room where my rig is set up. I got 3 monitors and it's dialed in, and I go through and I start looking at things that were, submitted overnight. And I start working on the next editions, and I start doing like layouts and getting things right and getting the credits in there and everything else. And it's pretty regimented right now. I have to say I'm pretty proud of like how
You develop
how
a flow.
rifled. I've got a great flow right
Yeah.
now, and I have some ideas about streamlining even further. But the thing is that when somebody makes a submission, the service that I use for the submissions, the form, I get a notification. In the corner of my screen, I'll see a little thing, and as soon as I see it, I go and I check it out.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes, I swear, it must be like seconds between the point that they hit submit that I get to look at the work and send them like, an email like, hey, yeah, we'd definitely like to include this. And it's been such that through COVID and doing it full time and being there and doing it immediately, I actually had somebody ask me the one day or made the suggestion. They said, is that like an automated response? Because it happened so quick, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I guess it could seem like that. So
Yeah.
I added actually in my little acceptance spiel.
Yeah.
I copy pasted.
This is legit me. I'm not. This is not
Just
automated
in
response.
case you're getting this like instantly, do know it has been reviewed by a human being. It's not an automated response
Yeah.
because it has been very very fast. But
Yeah.
I think that's been like I said earlier when I do have things situated such that people can almost like take care of everything they need to do on their own, like through the website and through all those resources. When it comes to knowing whether or not the thing made it and has been accepted, the immediacy is very important about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of the things that has helped with the explosive growth that I've seen recently with, lots more submissions and people like repeat submissions, like people, they seem like they like the process. Like
Yeah.
they like the fact that it doesn't drag on for weeks and months. And by having, getting that stuff done quickly, like for regular editions, like any of the regular titles, there's multiple editions going out every month.
Yeah.
Like Retro Lovely itself, like I think in this past month, I probably had 4 or 5 different volumes. It's not just monthly. I mean, it's never been monthly. I've always numbered them. It's been issue 1, issue 2. So
What are you up to number wise?
117 just came out.
Wow.
117, yeah.
Wow.
and that's retro lovely. Then there's Venus Cult, which is like the alternative and fantasy goth, like everything but pinup, basically.
Yeah. Is there like cosplay? You ever thought about
Oh yeah,
working that
oh
angle?
yeah.
'Cause
We've
that's
had some
popular.
cosplay editions that have been well received. Yeah.
Yeah, cosplay photography does really well.
Oh yeah.
We'll get back to this in a second, but if you guys are watching, thank you guys so much once again for tuning in.
I
Hit
see a
that
bunch of stuff going on.
yeah,
I see
there's a lot of people saying they love Scrapbook. I have to applaud you for making Scrapbook. This has been a wonderful for some of our girls at Pinup for Positivity.
Oh yeah, I've seen tons of those gals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll definitely follow that page as well, and they get their feet wet getting published. Absolutely,
Absolutely.
Angie, that's great. And then Tori says she's definitely going to do this. If you are watching this and you enjoy it, please help us out. Share this thing. Share our page. Help us get some word of mouth
Now,
exposure.
I'm curious too. This recording that you have,
Yeah.
will I be able to like point to it after the fact?
Absolutely,
So like
yeah.
on my webpage, I can say, hey, you want to know a lot about the magazine? Go look at this interview I did with Tony. And
Absolutely,
they could
yeah.
get great
I can
feel.
I
as
can
far as
give you
what's work.
this. So once this is over, this audio will go up on Spotify,
Excellent.
Google. The audio will be on every major podcast platform,
Awesome.
and then it'll still stay here on Facebook, but it'll also go to YouTube as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If you have any questions, please post them in the chat, and we'll get you guys involved. Well, you guys and girls involved as well. So definitely
I'm
post
glad
your.
you can read that from it because like all I just see like little letters.
My other system I used to do when I used to stream on Twitch, it was a lot easier to read. This is more difficult, so I have to like lean in. Yeah. But so far, so I have two quick questions. Has anyone been a repeat cover girl? And if so, who holds like the MVP title of most covers, if you can remember offhand?
Out of Philadelphia, Miss V, she until recently she had
She's
the
on
title.
Is she on the cover of this?
She's that, yeah.
Yeah, this is Miss V.
So she's been on, and it's really interesting too because like she's been on the cover of all Taboo editions. It's amazing, but
Yeah.
she had like 3. Now there are a couple other gals that are up to 2 and 3 as well. I don't know if anybody's made it to 4 yet. And the other thing that I'm kind of like waiting for is we've got Retro Lovely, we've got Retro Lovely Taboo edition, which is the nudes, and then there's Venus Cult, which is like the
Alternative stuff. Yeah.
And I was recently talking. Somebody had gotten a cover. They were on Retro Lovely, and then they got a cover with like Venus Cult. And I said, so she's only one title away from the trifecta.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the day when I have the person that's been on the cover of each.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be kind of like a neat thing to
So
like.
that
wrap it
hasn't
up.
happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet.
Interesting.
I think it's going to happen soon though.
I think another fun thing at like the end of the year, just like a idea spitball, like you make a thing on the website or your social media and be like, here were the 12 cover girls or shoots of the year, and here's a list of each one. Who do you vote to be Miss Retro Lovely of 2020? And then like they're like the main person, like the Miss Retro or Miss Retro Taboo or Miss Venus Cult of the year. Like
And you know what? That could be really cool. But then I also have like great anxiety with those sorts of things.
yeah, it does get a little sketchy.
Because like last year with we did 2 different things. It was for the Halloween edition and then for the holidays.
Mhm.
I literally put up, I think it was it $250 or $200? We did a thing where there's like $200 at stake for anybody that participated in those editions. And it's like, oh, well, should we do like a popularity thing?
Yeah.
And you know what? From a business perspective and from like a marketing perspective,
It
that's
gets-
awesome.
It gets
because
more attention to your page.
you know, and it's a hot mess.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've ever seen if you've run into any girls that have done anything with like the Inked magazine contests.
Oh, they're like, everyone go here and just vote.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're barraged. And then you realize if you get on the page, like people can buy votes. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I've always had like a bad taste in my mouth for that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
that's true.
And if you did it by just judging, that's another thing. So what we did was for those two promotions, I actually tied it to the Pennsylvania lottery. Okay, I did it that if you were like, okay, so last year was Halloween had 10 volumes. There was Taboo and there was 9 regular editions.
Mm-hmm.
And what I said to everybody before we put them out is, all right, so if you're in issue number 1 and some of your work is on page 37 and the PA lottery on this date is 137, you win the $200.
I like that.
And what was interesting was since the issues didn't go up to like 100 pages, they capped out at like 60 or 70. You had the possibility that a day could come and go that there was no winner, but we just we do it the next time that they
This
had
rolls over.
the draw 3. Yeah, so it was random. It was a random thing.
Do you collaborate with photographers on ideas?
Very rarely. In the past, I did. Like I actually in the early days of Retro Lovely, when we're printing them by the thousands and people bought them, there was an issue number 9. I worked with the photographer, and I basically said to him going, and I'm like, you know what, I would love to see one day. I would love to see a cover image, and you're looking at the model, and then when you turned it around to the back cover, it was the same model and the same pose, but from the opposite side. So like, you flip it, and it's almost like you walked around her on
Yeah.
the set, and that's extremely difficult. That's extremely tough. And I tasked one of the photographers out of Texas, Lone Star Pinup, and she delivered. I mean, she had the kind of like the idea that I wanted to do with this thing, and she ran with it. And when she sent me the files, I looked at them and I was like, okay, let's see how good it is.
How did you do the back? Like, what did the back shot look like?
I wish I was there to see it, because for me, what I did immediately was I put them in Photoshop and I stacked them on top of each other, and I flipped the front cover on top of the back cover. I'm like looking at it, like the girl's holding like a mirror. What was really cool is she's on the front cover. I'm like close to the mic.
Yeah.
She's on the front cover, but you can see her back for the most part, but she has a hand mirror. And you can see her eyes looking at you. And then when you're on the back cover, it's her facing you, but then the mirror is up, right? And when I flip them, I'm like looking for like the angle of the mirror, like is it as high on the one as the other, and did her foot move? And I mean, I could find some subtle differences, but like
It was just spot on.
so well executed. It was like bravo.
Yeah.
And like quite honestly, there have been some times where I've suggested some things to people, but here's the problem with this always. You could have the best intentions and the best equipment and the best talent and the best idea, and when the day comes that you have to execute it, it falls flat.
Yeah.
Like another great example was issue 5. The photographer that was working on that particular, had the cover for that one. She originally started out with 3 models. She went to shoot 3 models, a redhead, a brunette, and a blonde. In fact, the redhead was the girl you met last year at the ball, Angela Ryan.
Oh, she was a blast.
So here's the thing. The photographer wanted to use 3 models. Well, the day of the shoot came. They were at some car museum in L.A. The one model couldn't make it. The blonde couldn't make it. So it was just the redhead and the brunette. And both were competent models, great gals. But something just wasn't happening for the brunette. And the photographer had photographs of both of them, and she didn't even send me them all. She just sent me the ones of Angela.
Yeah.
She said it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
She says, I know there's
Just like
nothing
an off
here.
day.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's like, if you have an idea as grand as it is, I did it myself, was it last year, with Josephine and 2 other models. I wanted to do...
Her stable is amazing.
I want to shoot the 3 of them together and then have 3 covers I could like bust out, but then you put it back together. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
All the best planning.
Well, the beauty of your magazine is it's not a negativity that you don't take suggestions from photographers, because you really, at your level, you don't have to, because someone can just take their suggestion, do it, and then submit it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's you're kind of,
and
that creativity, your own creativity's there.
There's a huge problem with even entertaining that. Like as we're working with the Chocolate Cheesecake Edition, Dr. Cox at one point sent me an email with a bunch of questions that he was asked by models. And one of them asked him, I'm going to plan a photo shoot. Could I get a cover with what I'm going to do? And he asked me the question, and I said to him, Ernest, I'm like, I'll bet you money that there's movie studios in Hollywood would love if they could go to the Oscar committee and say, hey, we haven't filmed the movie yet. Can we guarantee we're going to get an Oscar?
Yeah, can we get Best Picture?
I mean, it's a chicken and the egg
You
thing.
want to split this one? You pour a little bit in your glass.
All right.
We're drinking some Hershey's Chocolate Yingling Porter here. Just came out. Michael was very excited that I had it. So
I knew it existed, but I haven't had it. And he's got a bunch of them sitting here like an alcoholic.
we do well. We do another show called Bangin' Beers. We absolutely appreciate the quick responses of submissions. By far the most responsive, and it's very impressive.
Thank you.
I'm in a group called Boise Alternative Babes. Am I saying that right? Boys, BOIS. I'm terrible with. I'm dumb. With a few local photographers and models who are most of the girls in my submissions today. If you want anything specific, we can set that up as well. I can do that. That's the guy who the person that submitted.
I would never task anybody.
Yeah.
It's not a practical sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the thing that I would say is, and this is beyond even just Retro Lovely, and this is one of the things that I wanted to kind of like talk about with the guys that are taking part in the cover workshop. And actually, let's back up a little bit to a story I want to tell you. probably about 12, 13, 14 years ago, I was hired by a guy who built a custom motorcycle. Great chopper. He did a lot of the actual, like, people say they built a bike and they bought everything and assembled it. This guy did a lot of like fab. He actually created the frame and did welding and did a lot of stuff on this bike that he built. It was a custom, and he did a great job. And he had finished up with it and was like ready to like, he wanted to like show it off. And he took it to some shows. He won a couple prizes at Carlisle, and he hired me to do a photo shoot with it. And he wanted to shoot it with a model. So we were on like Model Mayhem, which is like an old resource that everybody used back in the day before like Instagram took over. But we found a model local to where he was. This was down in Harrisburg, and he got a location, and we did this photo shoot. And he hired me. And the reality was, there was a couple key things that he wanted, but he gave me like leeway on what I thought creatively. He wanted like close-ups of certain detail. I mean, it makes sense. He
Of the bike.
he spent time on certain aspects of the thing that are unique that nobody has done, and he did it well, and he wants like the detail shots. So what was interesting was we did the shoot, got a bunch of great stuff. I was happy with it. He was happy with it. He was thrilled. The model was happy. And a couple months went by, and he sends me an email, and he's like, "Hey, the photo shoot that we did, there's a bike magazine's going to publish some of the photos." And I'm thinking, like, cool. Maybe it's like in the back, like a reader build, right? A couple photos. Then he comes back, and I get another email like a couple weeks later, and he's like, they're going to do like a feature on it, like a couple pages. I'm like, awesome. Then he comes back, and like 2-3 weeks after that, he's like, they're going to use something on the cover of this thing. I'm like, what? Right? So what was really interesting about it, this was before Retro Lovely, and it was actually part of the process. Part of the revelation of what goes on was part of the reason why I started Retro Lovely. But he wanted to get it in this magazine, so he hired me to do good photos. He got a model. He studied the publication. He logged what they print. He got in their headspace. He looked at what their style was like. And that directed what we did with the shoot. It directed the model that was chosen. It directed the setting. And then he basically packaged it up and sent it to them. And he hired a friend to write basically like an article about the bike, talking about the build, talking about all the things that he did, the awards that he won. The guy that he tasked for this is a person that does writing for a living. Okay, he writes press releases. So he effectively packaged an entire thing for the publication. It was built for them. They got it, and they're looking at it, and it was literally a situation where he handed them everything they needed, and it was a little work for them to say, perfect, let's go. And again, that's where I say, like, if it's a publication, not even just Retro Lovely, if it's any of them, and you really want to get as much involvement as you can, study what they do. Study what they do, think about it. Think about what you could do that would complement it.
Yeah, like how would my photography fit into this style of magazine?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You can stack the deck in your favor, and you can. There's tons of information that you can use
Because like
to better your chances.
From seeing as many Retro Lovelies as I've seen, because you've graciously hooked me up with, like, you're like, I'm gonna give you a magazine or two, and then Nikolai showed up the week before and he literally dropped an 85-pound box on our table. Like, this is great.
There's 2 tons in my basement from the original series.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever
like 3 pallets.
If you ever need to get rid of some, let me know. I was
anywhere,
putting them on.
You can give them out. You can give them away.
Yeah. When people come to the show, hey, take this. Like,
I got in my basement right now. There's probably 6,000 copies of issues 1 through, well, not even 1, but like issues 6 through 9. I've got like 3,000 copies of those.
Nice.
Still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
not
work,
nice. I wish I had the money.
We'll work something out. We'll do like a package deal. I'll buy them all off you. Yeah, I love them. I for a while there, they would actually sit next to the podcast table, and then people before the show started, people would look through them, and they loved it. I had to bring it back down because it was a really good conversation piece, and I was proud that I interviewed. I was like, oh, I just interviewed this guy. Look at this awesome stuff he makes. But anyway, seeing as much as I had, like, I think if somebody put an image out and it was very dark and ominous, and it was like in a very setting where there wasn't much light, and it was a very dark photo shoot, Retro is very bright, vibrant, stands out. I mean, just certain images, like as you're flipping the pages, like if it was a very dark image, it would be tough to.
Well, I'll challenge you there.
Really?
Like, here's a for instance, and this is really interesting too. Like when we talk about like trying to imagine what would work. I think this is actually it's. I almost wanted to actually publicly talk about this, but very recently I released a special edition of one of my partner studios. It was like a retrospective of their work. So it was 2 volumes, a couple different covers. Now, for the one of this particular model that we ran, I mean, look at the tonal palette of that.
Oh yeah, that is
Okay?
darker.
It's darker. I don't know.
But it'd be tough to see.
Yeah. This is on the Instagram page. It's from like 3 days ago. It's the cover.
You know what it
with
looks
Ginny
like?
Rosewater.
It looks like the movie Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, exactly.
When the girl is waiting in the cab for Butch to get in.
Yes.
That's what it looks like.
So here's the thing. This set, there's a bunch of great images in it.
Did you ever try to do
and
like a noir edition where it's all black and white?
We've had a bunch of black and white in issues in the past. We're doing an old Hollywood one coming up too.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
But just to give you an idea, right? This is from that same photo shoot.
Yeah.
Now you see the ones with the umbrella, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was working on the issue, this is from 11 hours ago, actually.
So these are all on Instagram too, so
Yeah.
you can head over to the Instagram. if
So
you
the
wanna
thing of it is,
follow
when I
along.
was working on the issue and I saw that set, it really grabbed me. And in that particular set, there was a couple different images that I looked at and I thought, there's a cover in there. One of those is a cover.
Mhm.
And sometimes I don't know which one. Sometimes I have anxiety over which one. And the ones with the umbrella was one of my choices. And then the other one was one of my choices. And I actually talked to, sometimes I run it by like peers and I get their gut reaction on it. And I ran it by like 4 people initially, and it was split down the middle. Half of them liked the one with the umbrella, the other half was the one that we used. Then I added another person, and I added another person, and it kept going back and forth. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, so it's obvious that either one of them is awesome.
It's gonna work, yeah.
And some people were waxing poetic about one or the other. Okay? People love them each equally.
Front and back
And-
cover.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's like sometimes it's like agonizing over which one. And I think the thing that's a little bit of a lesson right there is even if you do something and you have some art and a group of people or a person doesn't get it, it doesn't mean that other people are going to love it themselves. It's possible that your market is someplace else. So don't get discouraged.
Do you have any words of advice for photographers for your magazine? And then he goes, he did that about 15 minutes ago. He addressed some things. This is on a replay. So I appreciate Chris for you sharing this. So yeah, if you're hanging out, thank you guys so much. Sharing it helps us out. The word of mouth is huge. But yeah, people are digging it, man. My question to you guys in the chat is if you submitted stuff and you found retro lovely, what were the means of what you found retro? Did you find it through Instagram? Did you find it through Google ad? Like what were your how did you find retro? That would be my question for the chat that I'd like to.
Can I make a prediction?
Sure.
They stumbled upon it by somebody else who was already in it and reshared it.
Interesting.
It's almost like a cancer.
Yeah.
The sheer volume that
So
I've been doing.
I'm trying to develop that cancer for us.
Well, it's, the thing is,
Positive
it's like
cancer.
the actual
Facebook.
product, the product itself is also the advertising for it.
Yeah.
And the sheer volume of things that we've been releasing has been, it's been disseminating it to tons of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost can't poke around, and if you're in pinup circles and not see somebody referencing it.
So Facebook and found it through friends.
Yep.
All right. Where you guys from? That's another question I have because it's awesome to see like something from downtown Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and it's like we're from Ohio or we're from California.
I got partners in Australia. It's great. Like I
Yeah.
talk to them when it's their morning, and it's like my late night.
When I go and people watch, like I can't really see Facebook wise how far we reach with the podcast, but like when they listen to audio only, I get a little bit of demographic, and it's like, oh, someone from Ireland listened to your episode. I'm like,
That's interesting.
That's awesome. Like
Well, let me ask you this: with the merchandise that you sell with Teespring,
it doesn't really tell me where it goes.
it doesn't tell you where.
It doesn't tell me who bought it. It just tells me what item was bought and what they bought.
See, now with the magazine itself, with MagCloud, that service, it doesn't tell me who purchased something, but it tells me the city and the state and the country.
Oh, really?
So what's interesting is there are times where like I actually can like put out a release, and then I see the areas, and I think, oh, there's a model in that area, or there was a photographer in that area.
Yeah.
And you see that correlation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting too because like what I just said about how people find it. There are some days, I mean, for doing it as much as I've been doing it for the past 2 years, and especially the last few months, I can almost predict things. Like the patterns are amazing as far as if you publish a model from a particular country, I guarantee you within the next few weeks, submissions from that area are going to spike.
Yeah.
Because she has promoted that, she was in the issue or was on the cover.
That's why word of mouth is so popular.
That's just it. It's like
because you can like I dropped $20 on a. Remember how you're talking before? Sometimes people get negative on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So we do this podcast called Truth Behind Illusion where we talk about supernatural and ghosts and stuff like that, and then we do like a topic. So I paid Facebook $20 to see if they can just promote the video so we can get some exposure, and it told us we had 4,000 people watch it, but there was no interaction. There was no.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't believe
I
that.
don't trust them.
I don't trust it
I don't
either.
trust them.
But then one guy commented a piece of fecal matter, a piece of shit. He put a piece of shit on my wall on the post, and he said, "Because you paid Facebook to fill my news feed with shit, I'm returning the favor."
No shit.
And I hearted it.
shit, no shit.
I hearted it and said and I did the Dwight from The Office where he's crying and saying thank you. like I'm not gonna get mad about it. I literally was like, I thought it was funny, right? And then I was like, oh wow, it did work. Someone's seen it. One person actually seen it.
Not the 4,000 they told you.
Yeah. So one guy was so upset, he decided he wanted to return the favor, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. Pinups for Positivity is based out of Clarksville, Tennessee, and the surrounding areas. So there you go. Retro Lovely is one of the magazines we list our girls to submit to for our group of pinups for positivity. When I was in a pinup group in a pinup group, I'm in Buffalo. Nickel City Dolls. Many girls went to the Retro Partner Studios of Sweetheart Pinup.
Not actually a partner, but they have tons of work in the issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, who are some of your partners I mean, I'm sure you have a bunch, so I'm not, I know if you miss
I
somebody,
think we're up to about 24 right now.
who are some of your ones that you're like, when you see something and you're like excited for?
I'm always excited for all of them because
Yeah.
we actually over the past few years, I mean, some of them are recent additions, but the thing about the partner studios is
I mean, you know my answer.
it literally Josephine.
Josephine is my.
It
is
literally
my
is a
favorite.
situation where, well, like I talked earlier about how I am stretched thin for time.
Yeah.
Okay, and one of the problems that occurs, like early on, like here's a great, this is a great resource where people can ask questions and we can talk to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I can't do that 24/7, right? If I did, I'd run out of time. I'd never get anything done.
Yep.
And one of the problems is just like models have the questions, photographers also have questions. And early on, I basically decided, let me set something in place that people can be partner with the studio, with the publication, that there's some benefits to them as far as making it easier to submit. Some people submit so much in bulk that with partner studios, they don't use the submission form. They just send me something through a cloud sharing device.
Yeah.
And we have a system in place that I know when something is there and I get it published quick. I also have a review process where for them, I go through a lot of their past work and basically set it up in such a way that I see enough quality and consistency that I can say to them, I'll publish anything that you do because you're doing quality and consistent. And it makes it easy for them with their models to basically say, any shoot that we do, it's automatically accepted. Okay?
Yeah.
It makes it easier. For me, the other thing that becomes very resourceful is there's a Facebook group among those partner studios, and we get to talk about things. If it's me saying, hey, I have an idea for this, that, or the other thing, what do you think? In fact, it was just a few months ago, they talked me out of what would have been a very bad decision, okay? I was thinking about my own mortality, right? I was thinking about dying. I was thinking about how most of these magazines are side hustles. It's people doing them in addition to something else. They've got a photography studio, they add this in. Adds to their, esteem and mystique. Sometimes it's creepy guys who want to chat up girls, okay?
Yeah,
They start a magazine. There's a lot of side hustle publications. Back when I started it 10 years ago, I was on newsstands. I mean, I wasn't distributed like the big car magazines, but I was in about 200-300 shops all over the world. And the thing that was interesting about that was I distributed directly to those shops. They kept it on their shelves. They didn't get rid of it at the end of the month. They treated it like something that had lasting value. And that was all part of that history and that story. And it was something that took a lot of work and it was tough to do, and nobody's ever been able to do it too. And I don't want to call it like pride, but
You should have pride in your work.
I think, my whole thing became what I called, I think I referenced this, my Willy Wonka moment.
Yeah.
When I
You
thought,
give someone the gold ticket.
well, who's gonna carry it on if I drop dead tomorrow?
Yeah.
If God forbid something happens that tomorrow I just drop dead, it stops. And I don't want that for it. Okay. I'd like it to continue on after my demise. All right. I think a lot of the fundamental things that it was started to do and a lot of the things that it's become are worth keeping.
Yeah.
And I had this moment and I basically said to the partner studios, I put a graphic, I put a graphic in the group and it said for sale. It was just a big for sale sign. I said, I'm going to post this. And they were like, no, don't, because people won't understand what you mean. They don't read. They'll just see the for sale sign and think that you're going to close, right? And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I could totally see people, because people don't read.
Yeah.
They'll just see that and they're going to stop. My intent was that I wanted to put a for sale sign out to basically find my Charlie bucket. I wanted to find the person or team that at some point would take it over. Okay. And that's what I'm gearing up for right now. I'm actually getting things as streamlined as possible so that I could sit down with your Tori, and as a person that does graphics, I could say, this is what I do day to day with this publication. And it would make sense to a graphic artist or somebody that's visually oriented and works with computers on a regular basis, that they can actually pick up the slack. And it's either going to be that I continue it and build it to a spot where somebody can come in, if maybe it's like an intern at first and then they buy it.
Yeah.
Or I literally want to have the entity, the business of Retro Lovely, in my will to be put into a trust of sorts, where basically my family would own it, but the people that are my partner studios right now, or other people that I trust, have basically like a roadmap of what to do to transition it to somebody else.
I think that's smart to do. It does sound morbid, but I think it's kind of like when I actually just had this conversation today with my grandmother, because we do have a family member who isn't doing amazing health, and I think it's at the point where I think, and this happens to a lot of families and people, is like something happens or cancer kicks up or some type of illness comes in, and people don't want to think about their mortality, and then they don't put that kind of stuff in writing and don't think about it, and then they go on, and then it's just like it's a crapshoot of who's going to figure out how it goes.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to think about your mortality and things like that, especially if you put as much work in and dedication and time into something that you are proud of, that you want to continue. I think that's a very smart thing to do.
Yeah, and it's, and the thing of it is, if you want to really think about it, I mean, okay, say it is a scenario that I drop over dead, right? Well, I won't know. What would it matter?
Yeah.
Right. What possible pride motive would there be? Like, because even still, I won't know.
Yeah.
Okay. For the most part, you pretty much assume that. Yeah. But as a resource, it's something that was like put in place, and for a lot of things that it did, for a lot of things that it even does today. I mean, there's still some things that we're doing today that other people just aren't. And I kind of feel like I would just feel sad. I would just feel sad to think that it like stopped.
Yeah.
Because there's other publications that I remember that stopped.
Yeah.
And I'm bummed out. Like every once in a while I think about, like, there was a magazine called Barracuda, was really cool. There was another one called Atomic something or another.
You would need someone who is like a graphic designer, someone who's a photographer, and possibly someone who is a social media person, like a 3-person team.
Even the photographer side of things, not so much. I mean, they would have to know a bit about like photo editing as far as.
Oh yeah, because you have the partners who would submit.
Yeah, I
haven't think of that.
I haven't contributed photography myself in months.
Yeah.
My role lately has been as a graphic artist and organizer and promoter.
Yeah.
And really, again, I spend more time in an Excel spreadsheet than I spend in anything else.
Yeah.
And it's literally just getting everything organized. And if there's one thing I can say to like anybody that sees this now or later, when it comes to photography, the ownership of the photography is, in some cases for some people, like a confusing sort of thing, because in the industry, even if you hire a photographer to do a photo shoot, typically they still own the images. Okay. Even if you pay them for a shoot and you submit them to the magazine, I still need their approval to get that thing, published. If I don't have their approval, it puts me in hot water. It has to happen. And one of the biggest things that is sort of like a point of frustration or a time soak is that I can't make that happen myself. I can't make people do what they need to do to give me that permission. So
here's a quick question, and the only reason I'm asking is because it's a weird thing, because I'm a wrestling fan. So here's my wrestling reference sneaking in here. There's a wrestler who has sleeves up and down his arms, and it's a crazy lawsuit. I can't even believe it's a thing, because his likes and his imagery and everything is on TV, and he's in video games and action figures, and his tattoo artist is suing because his imagery is not being used. Like, he wants a cut of every photo that his tattoo is on.
I've never.
That's a
do tattoo artists do that?
This
do
one
they
is.
retain rights to the art?
I don't know, Like so I was just thinking, like, as we were talking, I was like, holy shit, that's a thing that's legit
Okay,
happening
so
right now.
is the wrestler marketing the art in addition to promotion? Like, does he have things for sale that clearly
Are the art
he's
of
taking advantage of the art?
I don't. I'd have to look at the tattoos closely, but like he wants like the tattoos to be taken out of the video games. The guy paid to get him on his body. Jesus, it's crazy. Could you go over what it takes to become a partner studio, requirements, fees, any pertinent information we might need, and also more specifically aside from the fees and desire, is there more to a selection process?
Basically, there is an initial portfolio review. Okay, so if I want to if somebody wants to talk to me about becoming a partner studio, I have to immerse myself in their work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so like say it was you using your camera and you want to become a partner studio. If I haven't seen all your work, I need to really immerse myself in the content that you've created already to get a sense of your ability to replicate that kind of level. Okay, that takes me some time. I'll ask you for like samples. I'll ask you for a number of like high resolution samples, links to all your websites, social media, etc. There's a number of questions I'll ask you about as far as how long you've been doing it, what are the things that you do. Do you work consistently with a makeup artist, a particular makeup artist, or a cadre of them? Who are they? Can I see their work? This takes me a couple hours, so there is a $100 fee for that. At that point, if I get through all the content, there'll be some business questions and things that I'll have for you as far as like I'll literally ask you what you know about the publishing world. What do you think? Who do you think is the average person that buys these? How many do you think we sell on average? What do you think it is for the industry as far as where do they go? And this is all because
Is this over a phone call or an email?
mostly emails. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I've done like some
Like conference
FaceTime,
calls.
Skype things with
Yeah.
people. I've had a few phone calls too. It's usually easier with the emails because there's like links and things that I gotta get from people. So they're doing that anyway. But it's really a matter of like being able to get like a real good handle on the work. And then from there, if like I actually feel that the imagery is solid enough and that your business acumen is solid enough and that you are, let's say, aware of how things are, because it's amazing to me how it's frustrating for me that sometimes people have the wrong idea about something. Like, I'm not on newsstands. I'm not selling thousands of copies anymore. And the reality of it is, just about anybody that uses the MagCloud service. And here's the thing: I almost want to like put a challenge out. Okay, I almost want to like put like a $500 bounty out and say, all right, who wants to come and let's get a third party, source to actually do an audit and actually say and go into your accounts for the like have somebody come in and look at your Teespring account and see exactly what you're selling. Okay. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors
Stickers.
with it that I think is misleading, and I don't want the photographers that I work with to be misleading with their clients. I want them to have the tools. Quite frankly, if somebody went to my personal website for my photography, I have certain packages that I have available for models, and I very clearly talk about the publishing and the limited reach and print that it actually has. I'm very honest about it because I spent a couple of years where I was in a hiatus where I wasn't publishing at all, and I had clients that were doing photo shoot after photo shoot after photo shoot to get published.
Yeah.
And I'd say to them, well, what magazines are you trying to get published in? And they would tell me the names, and I would like look at them. I'd glance at them and say, you realize tonight you're going to post this on Facebook, and more people are going to see it than are ever going to see it in that magazine. Okay, just to be, you know what I mean? I don't believe in like sugarcoating it that way. I just want to be real about it, and because I think there's people that are a little bit mischievous with what they present.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the thing that I come across, and it's not so much with all podcasts, but it does happen where people will say, "Hey, I want you to be on my podcast. I want you to be a guest on my podcast and promote your business, or we're going to plug your business on the podcast, and I want you to pay a fee to be on our show." Right? And then you say, "Well, listen, I have 2,000 followers on Facebook and I have 2,000 followers on YouTube." And then you go look at their videos, and they have 2,000 followers, they have 3 likes, and their video watches are like 100 views or 2 views or 10 views,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, you paid a third party to give you your 2,000 subscribers, so you look like you have outreach, but it's not natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not organic. Yeah.
It's not organic.
Right.
So I can definitely see that in all different other worlds too. Like,
Oh, you know, I've said this repeatedly to people in recent years. You know, if you were unscrupulous, you could be wealthy.
yeah,
You know, because well, like what we talked about earlier, like people don't pay attention. People don't read. Sometimes they see what they want to
those
see.
damn morals are hold me back from being
Right?
rich.
Yes, I could be like running shit. Man. I could have a lot of money if like I was just like a dick about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my problem. I always get uncomfortable when it comes to the money thing. Like when people are like, "Oh, how can we do this?" and I'm like, "I don't know. Don't just buy a T-shirt or just
And
share it on
honestly,
social media."
And that's what, like, with the partner studios, part of my process in asking those questions is to see what they know. Because if I have the conversation with somebody and they give me back wild answers that I know, basically they tell me you don't really know what's going on, and if you don't, your expectations
Are
and
high.
what you think should be, I'm not going to be able to meet them because you're not yet embracing or accepting what is the reality of this. So that's an important part of it. But just to wrap that up, then, if we get past all that stuff and we're on the same page, the partner studios, I think right now it's $150 a year for the annual fee. And the reality of it is, what that does is, where I do not have time to talk to any people that like just email me with partners, if they text me, if they send me a message, if they email me, make an effort to get back to them within 24 hours and answer them and work with them. And in some cases, it's literally a matter of like when COVID hit. You know, I was talking to a few of them are in certain market areas where things are not good.
Yeah.
And we literally like brainstorm, like, well, what could we do? What could we possibly do that might help? You know, what things could we possibly do that like might help you out with this? It's not just me like saying, you know, you're gonna give me money and I publish your stuff. I mean, for the most part, you can do that just by submitting. But there's other things that go with it that are like there is service. I mean, there's even days where like in the group, you know, with the partner studios, I'll ask them how I'm doing. You know, they've been involved with other publications. They work with other publications. And I'll occasionally say like, you know, is this a good value for you? You know, and knock on wood, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from them. A lot of them, you know, have felt that it's a good value and that they're that it's definitely different than anything else that they've been involved with. You know, it's my goal to keep that way.
Yeah.
And they're a good bunch. I mean, what I really like is when we communicate as a group, it's always positive. It's constructive. It's a bunch of adults. And I love that.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, one of the questions we asked you way back in episode 9, I said, what would be one of your dream locations to do a shoot at? And I don't remember exactly some of the answers, but have you ever, since then, have you done any shoots or have any done like any projects at a location that really like kind of blew you away?
You know, I actually have a few things on deck which are going to be that. They just haven't come to pass yet.
Nice.
And I actually have a goal right now. I don't know if you'd seen a couple days ago. I backed into this thing on Facebook Marketplace. This guy has this like Airstream for sale up in New York.
Airstream?
A big Airstream trailer.
Okay.
Like a camping trailer, but it's gutted, so it's like empty. But he retrofitted it to carry some motorcycles. I was looking at it and like I saw some photos, like that's like a mobile studio.
Yeah.
Right. I just had this like instant dream of like getting something like that and traveling with it.
Yeah.
Making it available as a rental for other photographers, doing some shoots with it as well. Basically like having a traveling caravan. Basically.
You're on the same bars. I would love to get to the point where I can make enough like money to support this, but I would do that. I would get an RV and I would go one end of the country to the other and just stop at cities and be like, I'm at this location.
Right.
Come tell me your story and let's talk.
And I kind of want to do that with like vintage and retro mid-century things in the United States. There's places I want to go and see that you know have always haunted me that I want to go and witness it directly. And you know, I've actually since talked myself out of the Airstream idea because you need a truck. They're huge. Where would you store it? Like I could put it on my property, but if I decorate it like I want to, then my neighbors are going to be pissed off. I've actually resigned myself into thinking instead of the big Airstream, instead I want to do like a 70s custom van.
Or like a Volkswagen.
No, like the Chevy or Fords or Dodges that had the beds in them and the little diamond, you know, window in the corner and the outrageous paint jobs.
Steve-O bought a van it's like becoming a popular thing. So he gets his van and it literally has like like a living room in it. And then what he does is the roof pops up and it becomes a canopy bed.
Oh, yeah.
And then it has like a couch and another bed that somebody can sleep in. And then he turned it into a podcast studio.
Boom.
And he gets in this van and just drives. And then he has like GoPro set up. And then him and somebody else sit in the passenger and driver's seat and they drive around and do a podcast.
See, I want to do that for pinup. I
Yeah.
want to go to events. I want to go to car shows. I want to take it to Vegas at some point. Take it out to Route 66.
Yeah.
Do some shoots
It'd be awesome.
as you travel, but like vintage like places, like going to like old school mid-century, you know, like attractions. But that's the goal, you know, something like that.
Yeah. Mobile pseudo / shareholder / partner. I'm ready. JC Clifford.
Hey, Jay. Hey, you know, interesting.
Bartender extraordinaire, overall great person, amazing musician. JC is a man of many titles. I love that to the death.
Solid guy. Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because as I started to float the idea for the van, the guy that I got my stickers from, he's out in New Jersey, and like I just mentioned this thing about like, because what I said to him was, I kind of want to like basically myself earmark a certain amount of money to do it and start it to get something that's like the bedrock of the project. But then I said like, I hate like, you know, crowdsourcing situations. Like just give me money to do something I want to do. That kind of pisses me off. But I might approach it and use one of those crowd, you know, sourcing platforms for this. Rather than
my pride kicks in. Someone made one for me, like a GoFundMe.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I really appreciate the sentiment, but like I get so weirded out by it.
Yeah.
Like asking for merch is too much. Like I have a donations tab that people can donate. I think in 2 years I've had one donation, and I was very appreciative of it. But then I'm like, oh my God, I get like my anxiety kicks in. It's like,
well, you know what to do though. Think of it this way, and this is what I'm going to do. How I'm going to approach this.
yeah,
I want to have like, you know, I'll be the lion's share of getting it started, but like the
that's all right.
sorry people, with the gentleman with the sticker company.
Yeah,
My thing is going to be this. As far as the project itself is concerned and its totality, there could be some marketing value in it for other people too. So like him, he does vehicle decals. He does like some big work like for like wrapping, you know, commercial vehicles with advertising. He basically said to me like, let me know when you're doing this. He's like, I would take part in this.
yeah,
You know, like willing to like become part of that. And I'm like, that's the way I do it.
Yeah.
I find other businesses that are like-minded that have a possible benefit. Because I'm imagining like a very hot pink metallic van.
absolutely.
Right? Just like that you cannot not look at.
It's like Brett the Hitman Hart's gear.
Something that like like that police in other districts would be like, that's a moving violation. Like,
Yeah.
that's causing people to wreck because they can't stop looking at it. Like something that's like, you know, one of those things that like it will get your branding message across.
You know what you should do with the one side that doesn't have any windows? Remember the old school 80s vans with like the spray designs on the side?
Oh, yeah,
like,
exactly.
Of like a warrior with the girl hanging off him with like, but do the opposite, like a pinup girl sprayed on there.
My thing is going to be this.
That'd be awesome.
I want to have it hot pink, some sections of white, and I want to get stickers of pinup models and stick it on there.
Like this table,
Yeah, basically
sticker bomb it.
Exactly. Basically, let the models, you know, buy some stickers, you know, support us with like a small donation, get some of the stickers, get some for themselves, and then we get it on the van. And then the day comes, we're at an event and they're near there, they can come out and like sign the van.
Yeah.
Right. Just have a bunch of stuff. Some of the businesses that have it, like
That's why I made this table, because like Scream Queens, and then we have like different businesses who come and give me their sticker, and I add it to the table.
Yeah,
and we're getting to the point where we're putting them on the chairs now. Like it's
They're everywhere.
We're very like-minded. Like, the same thing. With the reason I started this is like I love meeting people, talking to people, making connections. But I also, my goal is if I do become big, like I want to be able to help other people. Like, hey, I'm starting off a new business. Hey, you're here. Because I was obsessed with like Kevin Smith and Joe Rogan and Howard Stern, because they can take someone who you don't know at all, and that person tells their story and they become humanized. It's like,
Right.
I would want to support them more because now I know more about them.
Right.
You know, like people look at the Retro Lovely brand and they're like, I like everything about it visually. But now they come and watch it and hear you as a person and hear how awesome of a person you are. And
Well, that's the other part of it.
Yeah.
You know, to put it like a bit of a human spin on it. Like, it was actually probably just 5-6 months ago. Before like my lack of pride and my embarrassment at having ego, like I'm not real big on people that have like big arrogant egos.
Yeah.
Right. So I've always had this problem of self-promoting, and I've had people in my life like JC, probably one of them, my friend Kent. They say, you know, you're too nice, or you don't take enough credit.
I'm the same
And
way.
it was just a couple months ago.
I think
that, like,
JC told me that at your studio. When we were
Probably.
he's like, "Your podcast is great. Take more credit." And I was
Yeah.
like,
Right. But the thing that's genuine. And the thing
Yeah.
is, I literally a couple months ago started like adding to the branding to put my name along with it. Michael Bann's Retro Lovely.
Yeah, because you were going by an alias.
Well, for my photography, yeah, I
Yeah.
had to, because in the early days, people would come at me like with their hands out,
Mm-hmm.
like I owed them something,
Yeah,
and it was always like it was so dubious that they would come at me as a photographer, and what I did was I created an alias so that if they contacted that photographer, they didn't know he had anything to do with Retro Lovely. And
Yeah.
it made me know they liked the work,
smart.
not that they wanted to get in my pocket or get in my ear for something else.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anything in closing you wanna talk about or get out there? So just anything I may have missed question wise that you wanna talk about?
We covered all the good stuff, and we didn't even we talked early on about doing this like the debates last night. We would talk over each other, and we didn't do that.
Wrong.
No, that's just we got to say no. It's a lie.
This is so unpresidential. That was, dude. If people watch that from another country, they would think it's an SNL skit.
Right? Yeah.
I loved it and I don't have a political line, so please don't judge me.
We haven't even talked anything politics. I don't know where you stand. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me.
I don't have any line. I just watch pro wrestling, and that was the closest thing to pro wrestling but the scary thing is these are the people that are going to run our country.
Yeah. Well, I went into it and I said to myself, I know exactly what's going to happen, and
Me and Tori watched it, and we were crying laughing.
I know what everybody's going to say tomorrow. Their guy trounced the other guy.
Oh, killed him.
Killed him.
It
And
wasn't even a competition.
right. And nobody's mind is going to get changed.
Never.
We are a nation that needs to get a divorce.
Yeah.
We need to really kind of like decide, like, we need to separate. Like, maybe we all come together and say, you know what? We have such fundamental differences.
More
that-
people should watch the documentary that we talked about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think if we actually separated and decided to like collectively have like protection, like in our military, right? But then let the people that are left leaning have certain areas of the country. Let the people that are right leaning have other areas of the country. Do what they want to do. And if we get attacked by China or Russia, then we come together and we beat their ass.
Yeah.
But let's live and let live otherwise.
I feel like if something bothers you, just don't, like, if I don't like this, then don't buy it. Don't look at it. Like, I'm gonna buy this, but I'm saying if, like, when it comes to like something on TV, right? Or like somebody who creates something says something you don't like, and it's like, well, I don't want to follow anything they ever did ever again. It's like,
Then
okay,
don't.
then don't.
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
you don't have to you don't have to go get a pitchfork mob to go attack that person's family and their kids and their everything they've ever created, like, because you disagree with them.
That would be great, but the thing of it is, we have to look at the nation and our collective experience as a family, and in some ways, it's hard to accept some things from family members.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to accept what they think.
People need to realize that everything we do and say has a ripple effect. If you cast a stone into a lake, it's going to make ripples.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that happens in life. So if you leave your house today and you interact with a stranger and you do something horrible to that person or say something horrible, you can set off a chain of emotions
Yes.
that can
Yes.
affect that person for the rest of their life,
Yeah.
and then even their kids.
Well-
and then you're creating more negativity in the world. Like, sometimes it's good to just, okay,
I was
walk away.
talking to somebody the one day, and again, not to like throw into like any like specificity of opinion or thought process. And I just said, so if, let's say you have an issue with somebody, and there was a country they could go and live in where the way they feel and what they believe is the way the whole country goes. Are you going to be like, are you going to be like actively angry at them and want to kill them and go there and change their mind? It's like, you'll accept it where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you accept it with your neighbors here?
Absolutely.
Why can't you have that same?
People love the idea that we have freedom, but they don't like when that freedom makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, right.
And that's a problem. Freedom doesn't stop when you're uncomfortable with it.
And the sad fact of it is, from some of these documentaries and podcasts that I've been listening to, and that audiobook in particular about influence, the thing of it is, people need to have some sense of control over things,
Mhm.
and when they don't, they freak out.
Yeah.
And if it's something at a fundamental level that they don't agree with, they really freak out.
Sorry, my group chat's going crazy here. One last question. After our submissions get approved, how long does the process normally take to see in an issue?
If it's a special edition, it's tied to the deadline on that special edition. So, for instance, right now there are some like the Halloween editions. The submissions are open through almost nearly the end of October. Some people have been submitting since February. Okay, so we're talking a 8-month gestation period.
Yeah.
If it's a regular edition of Retro Lovely, if it's a regular edition of Venus Cult, if it's a regular edition of Scrapbook, regular editions of Retro Lovely and Scrapbook they're happening multiple times a month. So for those particular editions, if all the releases come in, it's no more than like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, Venus Cult has been at least monthly. The Taboo editions have been at least monthly. There was a point with Retro Lovely itself before COVID that I was putting out a new one every week. There was an instance one day, it was amazing. A submission came in overnight. I was finishing up an issue. I had space. The releases came in. They were published that afternoon. They submitted the night before. They were published by the next day. I actually think an issue that I just put out yesterday was a very similar situation.
Or one came in and it just fit the mold of the book, and
there was space available.
Yeah.
And because I don't limit to how many I'll publish, like, I don't do it just monthly. So if I've got enough content, they roll.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, one of the cool things too that I want to just get out of here, and then we'll wrap up here, is the one thing you were showing me, the business cards and T-shirts, and you make merchandise specific to the partners or the girls that are in the magazine. Personalized stuff. So a girl can go on and kind of not so much get like a business seminar, but like, hey, this is a great way to promote yourself, Linktree and this and that, and then here's a business card with you on the cover of our book.
There's a lot of things that can help guide them if they're so inclined. Like a good, for instance, is say the calendars. Actually,
I forgot. This is a cool one too.
It's actually a good thing, yeah. So I gave Tony one of these guys right here, and I'm really impressed with the quality. It's cardstock. The whole thing is cardstock.
I like it because it's the size of a magazine. I hate those giant calendars,
Right.
and you hang them on your wall, and it takes up all the space.
Too, like this one, when you open it, it still looks plenty big. It's a psychological thing that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's got this nice spiral binding. It lays flat.
Fortunately, we can't open it.
Because there's nudes in there.
Yeah, this is a taboo edition.
But the thing of it is, of all the magazines that you're going to encounter, okay, say you're a content creator, you get published, it's out there, and that's about it. Your opportunities are
yeah, that's
the extent of it.
That company's not. They're going to produce they're going to promote what they made, and they're not going to produce you as an individual.
Right. So the thing of it is, just a few months ago, maybe a month ago, I love this idea because I'm always looking for a way to help people have opportunities. Like in the early days, I had some models with the original editions of the magazine. I mean, the wholesale on those was cheap because we were printing thousands. Okay, I mean, the cover price was only $10, for crying out loud. Then it went to $15. I thought that was a lot of money. I wish I could sell a magazine for $15 now. And they were 120 pages and better quality.
Yeah, they were thick. Like
yeah. And part of it was, at that point in time, if you were a content creator and you had to work in it, you got a free copy. Postage paid. Okay, it came to you in the mail, the model and the photographer. They were also available to you at wholesale. They were also available on consignment, meaning, like I had a gal up in New York State, and she was in an issue, and she saw that we offered them at wholesale, and she had family and friends that were like, "Hey, can I get a copy?" And she sent me an email, and she's like, "Can I get some at wholesale?" I'm like, "Absolutely." Like, "How many do you want?" And she's like, "Well, what's the price?" And we talked about it, and she ultimately ended up taking a carton, and I sent them to her, and within like 2 days, she emails me back, and she says, "They're gone. I need more."
Nice.
And she made a couple $100, right? She bought like a couple more cartons. And then, she's like doing a car show at some point or whatever. And this happened with a couple models. And they said, "Oh, I'm going to this event, and I sound better when I'm closer."
Yeah.
It's like
the Howard.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit.
It's sexy.
That's all right. So there was a couple models that took advantage of this, and the consignment aspect was even better because, like, one contacted me. She's doing like this big event in California, and I was looking at it online. I'm like, that's a pretty big event. And she had like a booth and everything.
Yeah, if you have your magazine spread out that people could buy you in a magazine, that's great.
Right. And she's signing them.
Yeah.
So she says, "I want to buy she said I have like $300 or $200. I'm like, "Well, that will get you this many." And I said to her, "I'll bet you money that that's not going to be enough, though." And I said, "Here's what I'll do. I'll send you on consignment 3 times as many. Sell what you can. The wholesale will be the same. Later, when the dust settles and you know how many are left over, you can tell me how many is sold, and then you'll pay me the wholesale. You keep all the profit, and the other ones that are left, either we can get them shipped back to me, or if you want to keep them for whatever amount,
And then when you sell them again, just
you sell them again, you have them, right? So what was amazing was, I remember the day of the event, I had shipped her like 3 cartons, and the day of the event, it was like 3 o'clock at my here. So she's in California, so it's like 12.
Yeah.
12, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I got a message from her. I got a text. She's like, they're all gone. And I was like, son of a bitch. But that was part of the philosophy back then. I would make them available on consignment because the 2 worst things that can happen is you can overestimate and have too many, and they're sitting around like the thousands that are in my basement right now, or underestimate and not have enough to meet what the market wants.
Yeah.
So in those early days when we were printing a lot of them and had that kind of like ability, and this is days before smartphones and people still bought magazines, there was a lot of models and photographers that made money with it. Okay. And it was part of the deal. Part of my thing was that it wasn't going to be just, I mean, the original version of Retro Living, I never made money on it. In fact, it cost me money.
Yeah.
Like when things died, I took money out of a 401k to keep it going. I propped it up. So, you know, I'm in hiatus for a couple of years, and most recently I resume and I'm using print-on-demand services, so there's really no wholesale. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't exist. These things are like few and far between. But the thing that occurred to me a couple months ago was I know the holidays were coming up. From Scrapbook, I had seen this format with this really nice materials. It wasn't just stapled in that, you know, the thin paper. And I basically made a proposition to models that had been on covers. Said, hey, you know, you cover my time to do the layout, $25. I'll produce a calendar for you with you on the cover, you on your birth month, and we'll highlight when your birthday is so that your fans can buy you things or send you money. And we'll list like all your websites and all the different things on how they can contact you. So it's something that you can sell, and then you can get them at near cost.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to sell them. I want you to sell them. I want you to autograph them. I want you to offer them for $25, $30. My intent is if you sell 10, it'll put a couple $100 in your pocket. I won't sell them. I'll tell my audience about them. I'll tell everybody.
Retro Lovely's out there now.
It's on the, every time I have a new model that does it, I put them on there, and it says clearly, here's a new cover model catalog or a calendar. Get one. You can't get it from us. You have to get it from her. A couple of the gals that already did it, they bought some already to sell, and a few of them have sold out. So it's working for some of them because
nice.
they've got fans that are supporting. It's an opportunity.
Yeah,
it's an opportunity.
That's fantastic. I love it. And then someone said here, Misty Roberts says, hey now, I'm the woman on the Bama one. So she said, hey now, woman, I'm the Bama one. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, Misty.
Yeah, it's not making sense to me either.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, like I said, you hooked me up with some great stuff. I got some stickers. I appreciate it. I got pins of my favorite model.
I got some beer to try that I never had before.
Yeah,
awesome.
I got she's fantastic, super nice girl too.
She is such a positive person when it comes to the models that she works with and everything. She's
Her photography is really good too.
That too. Yeah, that's the double whammy, right?
Yeah.
Her work is so good. She should be like an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And her like I said, personality is like when I met her at the ball, it was beautiful. Yep. And then this is the funniest thing ever. I want to get more of these. It says I was on interviews with everyday people, and all I got was this lousy button. I love this is the funniest thing ever.
You're welcome.
Michelle, Michael is an amazing human. Thanks for sharing this. Well, thank you guys for hanging out. Literally, almost a 2-hour podcast, and
again
we had the consistent viewers the entire time.
Awesome.
Please, word of mouth is huge. Go support Michael if you'd like. You can support the podcast as well. Follow us on all social media. We do have merchandise. Grab a T-shirt. I'm making noise.
Do that. Tony's doing good stuff here.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying.
Absolutely.
I like I said, I'm a fan of what you do.
I'm a fan as well.
We met through the podcast through mutual friends, and then became friends after the cameras and all turned off and supporting each other. Right. So that's what this is for me has been amazing. Is just making these connections and making these friends, and hopefully everyone who submitted photos and possibly future partners. And when everything gets back to normal, I look forward to meeting you guys all in our area. at the
some
Retro
events,
Lovely Ball. Yeah,
I want more of that stuff to go on. We were kind of bummed out that we couldn't do it this year.
yeah. So that he does this event as well. So if you're brand new and you're submitting your stuff, he throws. It's called the Retro Lovely Ball, and we throw it in downtown Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
We had people from how many different states last year? We had, let's see, South Carolina or North Carolina represented.
Yeah.
Connecticut, New York,
Tennessee,
Tennessee.
California.
There was California, and there was
Yeah.
also Texas.
Yeah. And it's a giant ball. He had a brewery there that I made a connection that I actually got to hang out with
An old
those
friend of
guys.
mine, yeah.
Lakewood Noise. They make great beer. I drank a lot of lagers that night. Met a lot of the models. It was cool because every girl who was on the cover or was in the magazine
We had the
like
autograph book.
the
Remember
autograph
that?
book.
Yeah, that was great. Everybody loved that.
Yeah, it was so.
Yeah.
Then there was dancing
Everybody
and
signing them. Yeah.
dancing and burlesque shows. It was a blast.
Yes, it was.
So I mean, like, I really would tell you guys, like, if you want to be a photographer, if you want to be a model, reach out, submit your stuff, talk to you, reach out to him and get involved, because once you enter the fold of the Retro Lovely family, it's exactly what it is. It's a family.
Some good stuff in there. Yeah.
You make great connections, you make great people, and it's fun. It's fun, and I'm very like-minded in our philosophies, where
Absolutely.
we have our brand, we create our brand, but our brand is to bring other people together outside of it as well.
It's not self-serving.
No.
Which is important.
Yeah.
You do a lot of stuff that's not just about you glorifying you, which I love.
Yeah. And I a lot of people have met through because of the connections of the
That's
show.
the thing. Since we don't self-promote, we can give accolades to each other.
Yeah.
Tony, you're awesome.
Thank you. You're amazing as well.
Let's go up again.
I love you, brother.
All right, man.
Thank you guys so much. That'll do it for interviews with everyday people.
Thank
like
you
I
all
said,
for joining us.
yeah, thank you so much for hanging out and chatting. Remember, the share, like, subscribes help us out tremendously. You guys have all been amazing. We'll see you guys next time with interviews with everyday people. We're
Okay.
out.